Good morning, everyone. Thank you for making time for this discussion. Today we're going to walk through a data strategy that directly addresses one of our most persistent operational challenges: warehouse staffing management across our distribution network. As many of you know, we've been managing staffing decisions through a patchwork of spreadsheets, manual processes, and tribal knowledge. While that got us here, it won't get us where we need to go. The numbers on screen represent the kind of outcomes organizations typically see when they move from reactive, spreadsheet-driven staffing to a data-driven, automated approach. What I'm going to present is not a rip and replace strategy. It's a phased, pragmatic roadmap that starts with the tools and data we already have, progressively modernizes our data infrastructure, and ultimately delivers autonomous staffing workflows powered by AI. We'll be leveraging AWS services at every stage, starting with Amazon QuickSight for immediate visibility, then moving into purpose-built databases, and finally building agentic AI workflows. Let's dive into the agenda and then walk through each phase in detail. Here's our roadmap for this conversation. We'll start by grounding ourselves in the current state, the real pain points our warehouse managers and operations leaders face every day with staffing. From there, we'll walk through 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is about quick wins, using Amazon QuickSight to consolidate the spreadsheets we already have and turn fragmented data into actionable dashboards. Phase 2 is the structural shift, moving our data capture from spreadsheets into a proper database, so we have a single source of truth. Phase 3 is where it gets exciting, building agentic AI workflows that can autonomously recommend and execute staffing decisions. We'll also look at the end-to-end architecture so our technical leaders can see how the pieces connect, and we'll wrap up with investment considerations, a realistic timeline, and concrete next steps. I want to emphasize, this is designed as a crawl-walk-run approach. Each phase delivers standalone value while building the foundation for the next. You don't have to commit to all 3 phases today, but I think once you see the vision, you'll want to. Let's start with where we are today. Let's be honest about where we are. On the left, you see today's reality. Our warehouse managers are spending hours every week maintaining individual spreadsheets, shift schedules, headcount trackers, overtime logs, temp agency requests. Each warehouse may have its own format, its own naming conventions, its own version of the truth. When leadership needs a cross-site staffing view, someone has to manually pull and reconcile data from multiple sources. By the time that picture is assembled, it's already outdated. Decisions are reactive. We see we were understaffed last week, so we overcorrect this week. The result is a costly cycle of overstaffing and understaffing that directly impacts our distribution margins. On the right is where we're headed: a unified data platform where staffing information flows automatically, where demand signals from upstream, order volumes, seasonal trends, promotional calendars feed directly into predictive models, and where intelligent workflows don't just surface recommendations but can actually execute routine staffing adjustments autonomously. The gap between left and right is exactly what our 3-phase strategy addresses. Let me walk you through the business impact of staying in the current state before we move into solutions. Before we talk about solutions, I want to make sure we're aligned on why this matters financially and operationally. These 4 cards represent the compounding cost of our current approach. First, our warehouse managers, the people we need focused on throughput, quality, and safety, are bogged down in spreadsheet administration. That's not a good use of their talent or their time. Second, because we lack predictive staffing models, most sites default to overstaffing as an insurance policy across a network of distribution centers. Even a 10% buffer adds up to millions in unnecessary labor cost annually. Third, when our VP of Operations needs a network-wide staffing picture, say, heading into peak season, it takes days to compile. By then, the window to act proactively may have closed. And fourth, there's a human cost when staffing decisions are reactive. Frontline workers bear the brunt through unpredictable schedules, mandatory overtime, and last-minute changes. That drives turnover, which drives recruiting and training costs right back up. This isn't a technology problem in isolation. It's a business problem with a technology solution. Let me show you Phase 1, our quickest path to value. Phase 1 is our crawl phase, and it's designed to deliver value fast with minimal disruption. The idea is simple. We take the spreadsheets that already exist across our warehouses and bring them into Amazon QuickSight. QuickSight is AWS's cloud-native business intelligence service, and it's purpose-built for exactly this kind of challenge. We can upload Excel files and CSVs directly. And QuickSight's Spice engine, that's its super fast parallel in-memory calculation engine, can handle the analysis without us spinning up any servers or databases. What's particularly powerful for our use case is QuickSight Q, which allows users to ask questions of their data in plain English. Imagine a regional director typing, "Show me overtime hours by warehouse for the last 90 days," and getting an instant visualization. No SQL required. No waiting for an analyst. We can realistically have our first executive staffing dashboard live within 2 to 4 weeks. That dashboard becomes the single pane of glass our leadership team has been asking for. And for the warehouse managers, automated paginated reports replace the manual weekly summaries they're building today. This phase requires zero changes to how warehouses currently capture data. We're meeting them where they are. The spreadsheets keep flowing, we just finally make them useful at scale. Let me walk you through the technical flow for Phase 1 so our engineering and IT leaders can see how straightforward this is. On the far left, we have our data sources, the same Excel files, CSVs, and Google Sheets that warehouses are producing today. Nothing changes on the source side. We set up a simple process to drop those files into Amazon S3, our cloud storage layer. This can be as simple as a shared folder that syncs automatically, or a lightweight upload portal. From S3, QuickSight connects directly and creates datasets. We configure scheduled refreshes so that when new files land, dashboards update automatically. The Spice engine ingests and indexes this data for fast querying. In the analytics layer, we define the calculated fields and metrics that matter: headcount utilization, overtime ratios, temp to perm mix, cost per unit shipped. QuickSight Q lets authorized users explore the data conversationally. On the delivery side, we build role-specific dashboards. The C-suite gets a network-wide view. Regional directors see their clusters. Warehouse managers see their site. Paginated reports go out on schedule via email, replacing the manual reports people are building by hand today. The total AWS footprint here is S3 plus QuickSight. That's it. No databases, no servers, no complex ETL. It's the fastest path to unified visibility. So what does this actually look like for the people using it? Let me paint the picture with some specific dashboard views we'd build in Phase 1. First, a network-wide headcount heat map. At a glance, leadership sees which warehouses are green, properly staffed, and which are red, under or over. Broken down by shift, because a site might be fine on day shift but critically short on nights. Next, overtime trending. Not just how much overtime we're running, but the cost impact. When a site is running 15% overtime consistently, That's a signal that base staffing is wrong, and we can quantify exactly what that's costing us. Temp agency utilization is a big one. We'll benchmark temp spend across sites so we can identify which locations are over-reliant on temp labor and where we might convert to permanent headcount more cost-effectively. Absenteeism patterns are often the hidden driver of staffing chaos. By correlating absenteeism with demand peaks, think Monday after a holiday weekend, we can start building buffer strategies that are data-driven rather than gut-driven. And perhaps the most powerful metric: staffing cost per unit shipped. This normalizes across different sized facilities and gives us a true apples-to-apples efficiency comparison. These dashboards alone will change how we make staffing decisions. But they're just the beginning. Phase 2 is where we make the structural shift that unlocks everything downstream. We're moving from spreadsheets as the system of record to a proper database. Now, I want to be clear about why this matters. Spreadsheets are flexible, and that's their strength and their weakness. Anyone can change a column name, delete a row, use a different date format. When you have 20 warehouses doing this independently, the data entropy is enormous. Phase 1 works around that. Phase 2 fixes it. We'll implement a managed database service, Amazon Aurora for relational data or DynamoDB for more flexible schemas, depending on our data patterns. Warehouse managers and staffing coordinators will use lightweight web applications instead of spreadsheets to enter and manage staffing data. These apps enforce validation at the point of entry. You can't submit a shift without selecting a valid role. You can't enter negative hours. Dates must be in the correct format. The immediate benefit is data quality. Every record is consistent, queryable, and time-stamped. We get a full audit trail: who changed what, when, and why. And because it's a database, QuickSight dashboards from Phase 1 now update in real time, not on a file upload schedule. This phase does require change management. We're asking people to use a new tool. But the tool is simpler than a spreadsheet, and it eliminates the reconciliation burden they hate. Here's the Phase 2 architecture. On the left, we've replaced spreadsheet uploads with structured data capture. A lightweight web application, hosted on AWS App Runner so we don't manage servers, gives warehouse staff a clean interface to enter staffing data. It's mobile-friendly, so a floor supervisor can make entries from a tablet on the warehouse floor. For sites that have existing WMS or HR systems, we can build API integrations so data flows automatically, no double entry. The data lands in our database layer, Amazon Aurora for structured relational data or DynamoDB if we need more flexibility. Either way, validation rules ensure quality at the point of entry, and every change is logged for audit purposes. In the integration layer, AWS Glue handles any transformation needed, and we land processed data in an S3-based data lake. This is important because the data lake becomes the foundation for Phase 3's machine learning models. We also set up event-driven triggers. For example, when a warehouse posts a staffing shortfall, that event can automatically notify regional operations. On the analytics side, our QuickSight dashboards now connect directly to the database for real-time reporting. We add Amazon Athena for ad hoc SQL queries that analysts can run without touching the production database. And critically, our data is now clean, structured, and ML ready for Phase 3. This is the platform layer that makes intelligent automation possible. I know what some of you are thinking: changing how warehouse teams capture data is a big ask. You're right, and that's why change management is baked into Phase 2, not bolted on. On the user experience side, we're deliberately making the new tool simpler than spreadsheets, not more complex. Guided data entry means users pick from drop-downs, select dates from calendars, and fill in structured fields. No formulas to break, no columns to accidentally delete. It's mobile first, because our warehouse supervisors aren't sitting at desks, they're on the floor. And we implement role-based views so a shift supervisor sees exactly what they need to enter in. Nothing more. On the rollout side, we're not doing a big bang switchover. We pick 2 or 3 high-volume sites for a pilot. These should be sites with engaged managers who are frustrated with the current process. They become our champions. We run the new system in parallel with spreadsheets for 30 days. So there's a safety net. During that period, we train site champions who then train their teams. Peer-to-peer adoption is always more effective than top-down mandates. We collect feedback aggressively during the pilot, iterate on the application, and only then expand to additional sites. By the time we go network-wide, the tool has been battle-tested by real warehouse teams and refined based on their input. Phase 3 is where the investment in phases 1 and 2 pays exponential dividends. This is where we introduce agentic AI, autonomous workflows that don't just inform decisions but actively make and execute routine staffing decisions. Built on Amazon Bedrock, AWS's managed foundation model service, we deploy AI agents that understand our staffing data, our demand patterns, and our operational constraints. These agents can forecast staffing needs based on incoming order volumes, historical patterns, seasonal trends, and even external factors like weather or local events. But forecasting is just the beginning. These agents can autonomously generate optimal shift schedules that balance coverage requirements, labor costs, employee preferences, and compliance rules. When the forecast predicts a demand spike that exceeds current headcount, the agent can automatically submit a temp agency request with the right number of workers, the right skills, for the right shifts. Warehouse managers interact with the system through natural language. Show me next week's projected shortfall for night shift, or adjust Thursday staffing for the promotional surge. The AI handles the complexity behind the scenes. Critically, we implement human-in-the-loop guardrails. Routine adjustments, like shifting 2 associates between zones, happen automatically. High-impact decisions, like requesting 50 temp workers, require manager approval. The AI recommends. The human confirms over time. As trust builds, we can expand the agent's autonomy. Let's look at how Phase 3's agentic architecture works end-to-end. On the far left, we have our data signals, the inputs that drive staffing decisions. Order forecasts from our WMS or ERP give us demand visibility. Historical staffing patterns from our Phase 2 database show us what worked and what didn't. And real-time attendance data tells us who's actually on the floor right now. These signals feed into our AI engine. Amazon Bedrock agents serve as the orchestration layer. They understand context, can reason about constraints, and take actions. Behind the agents, Amazon SageMaker hosts our custom ML models trained on our specific data, demand forecasting models, absenteeism prediction models, optimal staffing models. The combination of foundation model reasoning and custom ML prediction is what makes this powerful. The action layer is where the agents do work. They generate shift schedules, submit temp agency requests through API integrations, and escalate alerts when they detect anomalies, like a sudden spike in callouts that needs immediate attention. On the right, the oversight layer keeps humans in control. Managers receive approval requests for significant decisions via mobile notifications. Exception dashboards highlight anything the AI flagged as unusual. And feedback loops are critical. When a manager overrides an AI recommendation, that feedback trains the system to be better next time. This is a true partnership between human judgment and AI capability. Here's our implementation roadmap broken into 5 milestones. I want to emphasize, this is a 12-month journey to full capability. But we start seeing value in the first 6 weeks. Phase 1 kicks off immediately. Within weeks 1 through 6, we have QuickSight dashboards live, giving leadership the consolidated staffing view they've never had. This is our proof of value, the moment where people see their scattered spreadsheets transformed into actionable intelligence. Phase 2 runs from months 2 through 5. We begin the database migration alongside the pilot program we discussed. Months 2 and 3 are build and pilot. Months 4 and 5 are iteration and expansion. By the end of month 5, the majority of our sites are capturing data in the new system. Phase 3 splits into 2 subphases. Phase 3A, months 5 through 8, focuses on getting ML models into production, demand forecasting, absenteeism prediction, staffing optimization. These models run in advisory mode first, proving their accuracy before we automate anything. Phase 3B, months 8 through 12, is where we activate the agentic workflows. The AI starts taking actions with human approval gates based on the predictions from 3A. Beyond month 12, we enter a continuous optimization phase, expanding to all sites, tuning models with more data, and gradually increasing the AI's autonomy as it earns trust. Each phase funds and justifies the next. Let me bring this back to what matters most, the business outcomes. These 3 cards represent the measurable impact we expect across the 3 phases. Operational efficiency is the first and most immediately felt benefit. When warehouse managers stop spending 8 to 12 hours a week on spreadsheet wrangling and manual reporting, that time goes directly back to operations. They're on the floor coaching teams, improving processes, addressing safety issues. Multiply that across every site in our network, and you're recovering thousands of leadership hours annually. Labor cost optimization is where the financial case becomes compelling. The combination of predictive staffing, knowing what we need before we need it, and optimized scheduling means we stop overstaffing as a default strategy. We also reduce our reliance on premium temp labor because we're forecasting needs far enough in advance to staff proactively. The 15 to 25% range is typical for organizations making this transition. Decision speed is the enabler for everything else. When leadership has real-time visibility instead of week-old data, the entire organization becomes more responsive. We can redistribute labor across sites during demand shifts. We can catch absenteeism trends early. We can plan for peaks instead of reacting to them. The ROI timeline is realistic. Phase 1 dashboards alone start driving better decisions within weeks. And the cumulative impact builds with each phase. Let me bring everything together. We've walked through a 3-phase data strategy that takes us from spreadsheet chaos to intelligent automation. The key points on screen capture the essence of each phase and the principle that ties them together. Each phase is independently valuable. Phase 1 with QuickSight is the no-regret move. We take the data we already have and make it useful at an enterprise level. No process changes required. Live in weeks. Phase 2 fixes the structural problem. We replace fragile spreadsheets with a governed database that ensures data quality and enables real-time reporting. Phase 3 is the transformation play. AI agents that predict, recommend, and execute staffing decisions with human oversight. For next steps, I'm asking for 3 things. First, approval to kick off Phase 1. That means identifying 3 pilot warehouse sites and assigning an executive sponsor to champion this initiative. Second, let's schedule a 2-week discovery workshop with AWS solutions architects. They'll assess our current data landscape, validate the architecture, and refine the scope. Third, I'd like to reconvene this group in 6 weeks. By then, we'll have live dashboards to demo and a detailed plan for Phase 2. The technology is ready. The data exists. The business case is clear. What we need now is the decision to start. I'm happy to take questions.